Ladies and gentlemen, will you all please stand to welcome the bridal party? Ladies, are these your seats throughout the ceremony? This is it, Edward. She's going to come in there. Stand by the side of each other now. Stand by the side of each other, thank you. Will you all please be seated, except for the bridal party at the front here. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and may I offer you a warm welcome to Weston Park on this very special occasion for Edward and Rebecca. My name is Helen Fellows, and together with my colleague Jill Russon, who is the official witness, we will be conducting the ceremony this afternoon. Edward and Rebecca are here today to be married, and we are all here to witness their marriage, share in their happiness, and make this a truly memorable day for them. Who gives the bride's hand in marriage?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. You may sit. There you go. Thank you. The place in which we are now met has been duly sanctioned according to law for the celebration of marriage. If any person knows of any legal reason why Edward James Lyons and Rebecca Charlotte Bullock may not be joined in matrimony, you should declare it now. Looks promising. Before you pledge yourselves in marriage, it is my duty to remind you of the solemn and lasting character of the vows you are about to make to each other. Marriage in this country is the union of two people voluntarily entered into for life to the exclusion of all others. I'm now going to ask each of you to declare that you do not know of any legal reasons why you should not be married to each other? Please answer I am to the following question. Are you, Edward James Lyons, free lawfully to marry Rebecca Charlotte Bullock?
I am.
Are you, Rebecca Charlotte Bullock, free lawfully to marry Edward James Lyons?
I am.
Thank you. The purpose of marriage is to enable you to make a formal commitment to each other, to care for and support each other through everything that life brings to you. It is to accept each other's strengths and weaknesses and to continue to grow and learn together. It is a promise from each of you to always treat one another with respect and affection, and to never forget that your marriage is a continuing celebration of the love that you clearly have today. Marriage must be entered into freely, voluntarily, and with the full and unreserved consent of you both. Therefore, Edward, do you take Rebecca to be your lawful wedded wife?
I do.
Rebecca, do you take Edward to be your lawful wedded husband?
I do.
Well done, thank you. We're now going to give Edward and Rebecca a short pause while we hear our first reading. And can I call Maggie, please, to the front?
The Art of Marriage by Wilfred Pearson. A good marriage must be creative. In the marriage, the little things are the big things. It's never being too old to hold hands. It's remembering to say, I love you at least once a day. It's never going to sleep angry. It is having a mutual sense of values and common objectives. It is standing together, facing the world. It is forming a circle of love that gathers in the whole family. It is speaking words of appreciation and demonstrating gratitude in thoughtful ways. It is cultivating flexibility, patience, understanding, and a sense of humour. It is having the capacity to forgive and forget. It is giving each other an atmosphere in which each can grow. It is a common search for the good and the beautiful. It is not only marrying the right partner, it is being the right partner.
Thank you. Edward and Rebecca, you have today declared yourselves free and willing to marry. Will you both turn, face each other, and take each other by the hand as you make your formal vows of marriage and solemn promises to each other? Edward, if you'd repeat after me. I, Edward.
I, Edward.
Take you, Rebecca.
Take you, Rebecca.
To be my lawful wedded wife.
To be my lawful wedded wife.
All that I have, I give to you.
All that I have, I give to you.
All that I am, I share with you. All that I am.
All that I have, I share with you.
I share with you. I promise to give you my love and friendship.
I promise to give you my love and friendship.
To confide in you.
To confide in you.
And comfort you.
And comfort you.
To trust and support you.
To trust and support you.
I promise to be there.
I promise to be there.
When you need me most.
When you need me most.
Always and forever.
Always and forever.
Thank you. And Rebecca, if you would repeat after me. I, Rebecca.
I, Rebecca.
Take you, Edward.
Take you, Edward.
To be my wedded husband.
To be my wedded husband.
All that I have, I give to you.
All that I have, I give to you.
All that I am, I share with
All
you.
that I have, I share with you.
I promise to give you my love and friendship,
I promise to give you my love and my friendship,
to confide in you and comfort you,
to confide in you and comfort you,
to trust and support
to
you.
trust and support you.
I promise to be there when you need me most,
And I promise to be there when you need me the most.
always and
Al-
forever.
Always and forever.
Well done. We have now come to the exchange of rings, which is the traditional and ancient way of sealing the contract that you have made, and is the outward sign of the lifelong promises you have made to each other. Therefore, may I ask Jill to step forward with the rings? Thank you. Edward, if you would take Rebecca's ring, thank you, and place it on her finger. Hold it there for a moment and repeat after me. Rebecca, I give you this ring
Rebecca, I give you this ring
as a symbol of my love
as a symbol of my love
and the commitment we are making to each other.
and the commitment we're making to each other.
Well done, that's it. Thank you. Edward, could you just pick up the box there for Rebecca? Thank you. That's it. And could you, your ring? There we go. That's it. Would you just like to take the ring? There we are. To pop the boxes back on the table for me. Thank you. That's it. Place it on Edward's finger and hold it there while you're nearly there. Edward, I give you this ring
Edward, I give you this ring
as a symbol of my love
as a symbol of my love
and the commitment we are making to each other.
and the commitment that we are making to each other.
Well done. Pop the ring on. There we are. Thank you. Well done. At this point, we will have our second reading. And may I ask Greg to step forward, please?
This is Marriage Joins Two People in the Circle of Its Love by Edmund O'Neill. Marriage is a commitment to life, the best that two people can find and bring out of each other. It offers opportunities for sharing and growth that no other relationship can equal. It is a physical and an emotional joining that is promised for a lifetime. Within the circle of its love, marriage encompasses all of life's most important relationships. A wife and husband are each other's best friend, confidant, lover, teacher, listener, and critic. And there may come times when one partner is heartbroken or ailing, and the love of the other may resemble the tender caring of a parent for a child. Marriage deepens and enriches every facet of life. Happiness is fuller, memories are fresher, and commitment is stronger. Even anger is felt more strongly and passes away more quickly. Marriage understands and forgives the mistakes life is unable to avoid. It encourages and nurtures new life, new experiences and new ways of expressing a love that is deeper than life. And when two people pledge their love and care for each other in marriage, they create a spirit unique unto themselves, which binds them closer together than any spoken or written words. Marriage is a promise, a potential made in the hearts of two people who love each other and takes a lifetime to fulfill.
Thank you. Thank you. Edward and Rebecca, you have made your own solemn promises to one another. May you always love, honour and cherish one another. May no failure or misfortune ever part you, and may you live full and rich lives together. It is now my great pleasure to be able to say that you are husband and wife, and Edward, you may kiss the bride.
Both of us hope that you all enjoy this beautiful venue that has meant so much to my new son, my dearest daughter, and her new mother, Jill. About Rebecca. On the day Rebecca was born, I had left New Cross Hospital to go 5 minutes down the road to tell my mother that Iris had gone into labour. On my return, you probably have guessed it, Rebecca had entered this world. When I entered that delivery room, I am convinced she wagged a finger at me to say, You miss my new entrance, Daddy. My excuse is there were no mobile phones around then, and I'm going to stick to that one. Rebecca, as a child, was always full of energy and laughter. From the day she was born, all she ever wanted to do was sing and dance. Iris steered her into the direction of ballet and tap, in which she excelled and won loads of awards. We as a family had some wonderful holidays in the UK and abroad, but I'm not going to bore you with all the places that we went to. But I have selected 3 anecdotes to sum up my beautiful daughter. Oh, don't you start. She was at Thomas Telford School when she was selected to sail on a tall ship experience from Southampton. When we collected her from the voyage, all she could talk about was the crow's nest, the rigging, the topsail, and she wanted to see the rest of the world. Knowing her love of travel and the high life, I suggested she applied for a stewardess's job for one of the airline companies. Her dream came true when she became a hostess with the Emirates Airline Company. She was based in Dubai. It was World Ere Rebecca Comes. After seeing the world and many destinations, she returned to the UK and decided she wanted to become a teacher. She travelled most days to Cambridge University, where she attained her degree. We were very proud parents when we attended the award ceremony at Cambridge University when Rebecca received her degree. She is now head of a department in a grammar school. I have purposely selected these 3 anecdotes because these sum up my little girl. Determined, prepared to work hard, and still remain a warm, loving person who may be a bit crazy at times. Good luck, Ed. Rebecca, myself, Mom and Greg are extremely proud of you and of the woman you have become. The hard work you have put in over the years has been amazing. Although I still see you as my little girl, you still boss me about all the time. A bit about Ed. Sadly, Ed's dad died when Ed was only 9. So Ed's mum, Jill, has had to function as both his mum and dad. Jill, you have been superb in both these roles, and both myself and Iris can truly say what a wonderful, rounded man you have produced. Ed, we are very proud to have you as our son. We will extend that welcome to you into our family, and both of us agree that you are a fabulous, caring young man. From the moment that Rebecca brought Ed to our home to meet us, I have seen a sparkle in both their eyes. And my advice to you both is always keep that sparkle together. Certainly, after any arguments or disagreements, focus on what's important in life and the love you share together. I would like to read to you both a little observation that sums up today. And it goes like, you take each other's hand and very gently place a ring, and with that most symbolic touch, a brand new book begins, where contentment and devotion take you forward to a life full of joy between a loving husband and his gorgeous wife. As you turn and write the pages of your new book, I hope that it turns out to be a very long and exciting story, filled with love and happiness and total fulfillment. Wow, I've got through it. Right. Will you please, everyone, stand and raise your glasses to wish Ed and Rebecca health and happiness throughout their married life. Ed and Rebecca Lyons. Thank you very much, everyone.
As you know, I was Ed's best man, and it's a most unusual position for a female to be in. But I'm very honoured that he actually asked me to perform that function today. Because I've never been a best man before, I'm not quite sure what a female best man should be doing. I know it's traditional for the male to actually try to embarrass the groom by coming out with some really risque type stories that would embarrass him completely. But of course, that's the sort of thing no mother should actually know. As it happens, I do know a few stories about Ed. But I'm not going to embarrass him in that way. In fact, I'm going to embarrass him in a slightly different way. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to circle under your seats, 2 of you on every table will find an envelope. If you would like to open that envelope, please. That's including the top table. Can you just not open it for a minute, please? If you can just. Okay. So what I did. Don't look yet. What I actually did was I asked a number of Ed's friends to describe him in one word. I'm pretty much like my university students. 30% did exactly what I asked them. 40% broadly did it, but basically did what they liked, and 30% didn't bother. Okay, so of all the things that they said, some of them had common themes, so I actually categorised them. And what I've tried to do is find photos that actually, in some way, demonstrate those characteristics that Ed has. Some of them are a little bit sort of poetic license, but anyway, we actually have them here. The other thing was that I actually did a test piece with this, and I had all the photos in the correct order. But you know the saying, you have one job. I delegated the job, and some of the photographs that should go left to right actually go right to left, but we can live with that. So if you'd like to open your pictures, you will see that the first one, people have described him as being flamboyant, swashbuckling and dapper. Sadly, I wasn't able to get a picture of his Dolce & Gabbana shoes, which actually caused a great deal of comment and which I'm not sure should belong to the head of the mafia or the Pope. But they provoke interest wherever he goes. I'm told that he's actually quite flamboyant on the dance floor as well, but I've yet to see that, but we might see that this evening. So you can see on the top line of photographs, what I've tried to do here is the various photos where he's actually progressed from flamboyant to the beginnings of a dapper teenage boy, so that's actually your top line. The second characteristic that came out a lot was unique. And I think we'll just have to take the word for people who said that he's unique. Several people have come up with that. So I'm not sure what their version of unique is, but I couldn't find a photograph. He's certainly probably unique today in that it's probably the first time in his life since I dressed him that he's actually wearing matching socks. The next line, I've actually chosen pictures of Ed with animals because the categories here were kind, honest, supportive and charming. And as his mum, I'm actually bound to agree, though I'm not sure he's ever really tried to charm me, but obviously people think that he has. A couple of examples here. When he was 3 years old, somebody ran into the back of me one morning on the ring road. And this lady, he'd obviously memorised her name, and she rang the house. He used to love answering the phone. And as soon as she said who he was, he said, "Are you the naughty lady that's driven into my mummy's car? I hope you don't do it again." And she was obviously captivated by that because she sent him colouring books and sweeties and heaven knows what else. So yes, the pics of animals really are to show his love of animals and his kindness that is to animals and people as well. The middle one, which is with the goat, was actually taken here at Weston Park. They used to have a children's petting corner behind. And this particular picture, he's loving the goat, although the goat had actually charged at him and quite hurt him with his little horn things. Where have we got to? Where have I got to? Get my piece of paper. Right, eccentric. Some people have said he's eccentric. So we've got some poses here which perhaps detail his eccentricity. So the first one is with a friend who now lives in Canada, where he's very, striking a pose there. The second one is of his graduation ceremony in Cambridge. So it's the end of the graduation ceremony, and where everybody else, every other student, is down in the shorts and the wine, he's looking in the haunted bookshop, which is not the sort of thing you would expect children to, or graduates to actually do. But I guess probably the most memorable thing for me in terms of his eccentricity is that he was always interested in finding out how things work, even at a very young age. And at the time, he'd be about 5, I was working part-time in a bank in Wolverhampton. It was only a small bank and it was only a small branch. And one day, I had a call to cover a lunch break. So I had Edward with me, and they said, bring him in. Took him in. When I got in, I found that I was going to be the only person actually in the building for an hour, which was strictly against the rules. I sat him at a back workstation. He got his noddy books, which he was very much into. He got some Lego. He got a colouring book. He got a drink, and he got some sweets. And for half an hour, all was absolutely perfect. And then all of a sudden, the door burst open, and half a dozen policemen rushed in, batons raised, 2 armed at the back, police cars at the front. You're being raided. I said, no, we're not being raided, but your direct panic alarm's gone off. And all of a sudden, all eyes. Now, these panic alarms were actually under L-shaped workstations. They were right underneath. We knew where they were because we'd been trained to, but they were very difficult to reach with an adult arm, let alone a little tiny child. But he found it, and whereas another child might say, Mom, what does this do? No, he pressed it, and that was it. Right. Sorry, I'm losing my thread now because I'm... Right, driven, dynamic, hardworking, thoughtful and inspiring. The bottom line of photos here shows Ed primarily, 3 of them, show him in the act of climbing or descending. And I've actually chosen those because he is driven, he is dynamic, he never attempts to do anything unless he wants to fulfill it to his best advantage. So we can see he started the climb, the hard work, even when he was a little boy. The picture on the net, climbing up that net, again, they had a children's playground here at Weston Park, and it was all made out of the timbers from the sawmills over the road. From the age of probably 3, with his dad, he was actually climbing up there and made sure that he actually got to the top. And he shows the same sort of characteristics today. He will do everything to his best ability. I'm very proud of him. And the final thing here that people have said about him is that he's committed. He's very committed, and he's shown that today by his marriage to this lovely girl, Rebecca. And I'm really so proud to actually embrace her as my daughter-in-law and to embrace her lovely family, John, Iris, Greg and Natalie. Ladies and one final thing that I would like to say is that you will all have seen that on your table. In case you don't know what these are actually wildflower seeds. We have, or Ed and Rebecca have, made a donation to the British Heart Foundation because that unfortunately was what took his father away from us. And so we have these here today in his memory, and we'd like you to take them away and scatter them wherever you think wildflowers would be. Ladies and gentlemen, can you please raise your glasses again to the lovely bride and groom, Ed and Rebecca, and their lovely family.
So it's time for probably the least eagerly anticipated speech of the night. So before we start, on behalf of my wife and I, we've got. I'd like to extend some thanks to some special people who've made our day even more memorable. So first of all, thank you very much all for coming. When the first 50 people weren't able to make it, we're just really glad that the second tier has come up in such very strong numbers, and you've all got quite a comprehensive array of interesting food allergies, so the fact that most of you aren't really any blotchier or sweatier than when you came in indicates that the catering team have mainly got it pretty much right. So we'd like to sort of extend our thanks to all of the team at Weston Park. Special thanks have got to go, of course, to Barry, wherever he is. So Barry played a really big part in our very, very special engagement here 2 years ago. So if ever you want to hide a massive ring in a bush, Barry's the man to talk to. Vicky as well, I'm not sure if Vicky's around, but she's a relatively new member of the team, and she's an absolute wizard with a spreadsheet, and she's sort of seriously helped us out over the last few fairly stressful months, really. We've got to thank Linda and Tony for looking after this absolutely incredible dress, so thank you very much for that. Huge thanks, of course, have got to go to all the bridesmaids, with particular thanks going to Natasha for organising an amazing hen do in Marbella. Although it did look as though I was going to. It looks as though I was in danger of losing my fiancée to at least 2 of the cast-offs from Love Island at some point. Big thanks as well go to Amy for being an absolute rock of support for Becca, and a bit of a spy in the camp for me as well. So thank you very much. Of course, I've got to thank my groomsmen, and these 7 guys have all played a particular important part of different aspects of my life, and I feel honoured to have them by my side on this very, very special day. Particularly thanks go to Gerwin for sorting out all of the suiting and making sure that all of the men look appropriately sartorially attired. Never mind, Ish. We won't mention it again. We probably will. Also, thanks very much to Michael for designing our wedding stationery, for being a genuinely lovely chap. We've also got to say thanks very much to Ed on my left for organising 2 very memorable stag do's. The first of which to Miami just continued the trend for Virgin Atlantic staff to assume that we were getting betrothed to one another. And I think if this goes wrong, we might as well just give it a go. Yeah.
I'm in.
We also, of course, have to thank my new in-laws for their support, love and generosity for our amazing wedding. Becca wants to extend her personal thanks to my mum for bringing such a perfect husband into this world, so what can you say? On a serious note, there are two special couples who are not able to join us today, with two of my groomsmen. So, two of my groomsmen recently having lost their dads. So, they weren't just sort of fathers to my friends, they're also friends of mine, and I know how proud they are and proud they were of the exceptional men that their sons have grown up to be. So I would like to ask you to stand up and raise your glasses to two exceptional men, to Roy Lycett and to Phil Guthridge. So if you raise your glasses to Roy and Phil, please. Ooh. You can all sit down again, that's fine. So dads play a vital role in bringing up the children, and I count myself to be very, very lucky to have inherited a great man as my father-in-law. So I'm going to have to ask you all to stand up again and raise your glasses, but this time to the father of the bride, to John Bullock. So to John.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, everybody. So, as you all know, and there's a little bit of repetition here, any of my groomsmen would have made a fantastic best man, and they all are, in fact, my sort of best men. The honour has to go to my mum, of course, and having lost my dad and my granddad in a very sort of short space of time at a very young age, then mum stepped up to the plate, and as well as looking after a 9-year-old me and a particularly belligerent grandmother, she got 2 jobs. She got a first degree, she got a master's, and then she got a doctorate. And I can honestly say it wasn't for her industrious attitude, then I wouldn't be where I am here today. So I'd like you to all stand and raise your glasses, and again, this time to Dr. Gillian Lyons. So I kind of wanted to deliver a speech that avoided as many cliches as possible, but when I sort of turned around and saw Becca, I thought, oh, bollocks, I'm going to have to say how stunning she looks after all. And in sort of a relatively short space of time, we've managed to pack in a boatload of very memorable experiences. But it's actually quite a burden having such a ridiculously fit missus. And from being sort of frequently stopped whenever we go out for dinner with people coming up to the table going, don't you look beautiful? We like scant regard for my like rapidly cooling fillet steak, to being totally outshone at a special party we were invited to last year, where she was whisked away for dance after dance after dance by none other than His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. And after about 20 minutes or so, I thought, I'm just going to have to go and ask for my wife back. But then remembered shortly after we were on our way to Paris, so I thought, oh, better not. Becca and I met at a Halloween party 4 years ago, a party she didn't want to be at, and where I spent the vast majority of time avoiding militant ex-girlfriends. Fortunately, after a week or so of some serious Facebook stalking, she finally wore me down. And we agreed to meet at the Greyhound pub in Lower Penn on one of Becca's favourite evenings, which is bonfire night. After spending about 20 minutes or so setting up a dodgy firework display in the council office's car park in the rain, and then sitting next to a thermonuclear radiator in the pub, which seemed to serve both as the way they heated the place and cooked the food, Becca arrived, and I was blown away. How she could sit next to that radiator for so long and not break a sweat, I didn't have a clue. And that seems to be a feat that's followed into our home life. So it seems our thermostat at home's only got 2 settings. Like my favourite, like most men in here, I'd imagine, is called off. Becca's is maximum. And we tend to team maximum heating with open windows, which never particularly worked. Despite her appearance, Becca would never term herself as being high maintenance. However, she can burn through more tyres, brake pads, and fossil fuels than a mid-sized US state. This became apparent when our first quarter winter gas bill topped £1,000 last year. Her individual contribution to the global warming crisis and the sheer weight of her carbon footprint has seen Extinction Rebellion target her directly as a cause for concern. and she's actually going to be at the top of Greta Thunberg's next environmental summit. In all seriousness, Becca is kind, generous, witty, thoughtful and driven, and has a toughness and determination that's rare to find these days. She's used these skills to excel in her work life, and she never likes to take the easy option, which is evident from some of the schools that she's worked at. From a challenging environment in the middle of Handsworth, a town which is mostly known for riots and for having the highest population of violent crime per square metre, to an equally difficult school in Telford, a place where most inhabitants think hepatitis B is a vitamin, and male grooming has got a totally different meaning to the one that we're accustomed. Despite these challenges, Becca has risen up from being a classroom teacher to the head of department and also to head of faculty, and I know for certain that she's an inspiration to the young women she teaches. She's also an inspiration to the young boys as well. Generally to write, "I want to shag Miss Bullock" on the toilet doors. Teachers didn't look like Becca when I was at school, which is quite a good job because I would have got considerably less work done. So it's time for me to close, and I'd like to say by just saying, Becca, I love you, and I cannot wait to spend the rest of our lives together. And I'd like you all to raise your glasses, another toast to my incredible wife.
Many of you may not know me. My name's Paul, and I met Ed, first of all, in 1998 in September. And we started university together, and I thought it's a bit early for Halloween. Because for those of you who remember, the Bruce Lee story had come out, and the film called The Crow had come out with his son, Brandon Lee, and Ed was very much modelling himself on that look. In other words, a goth, a bit pale, funny shoes. He soon came out of that, and we spent lots and lots of memorable times at university, and there was a particular time, I think in the second year, when we lived together, where you contracted chickenpox. And being the doting, loving mother that she is, and technologically enabled, a delivery from Sainsbury's came, and we ate like kings for a week because Ed had chickenpox. Over the next few months, he had measles, hepatitis, whatever we could think of. And the food kept coming. Now, over the years, Ed's played quite a pivotal role in my life, and I always like to think that when you meet someone, you stay friends as long as we have, they add something to your life. And that's certainly true with Ed. Not this Ed, as you'll find out in a moment. That Ed there. And we decided, of course, that when Barnaby came along and needed a godfather, he was the logical choice. There is a reason that we didn't do that for Beau, and it's because Ed found something called shoe fashion. I don't know if you've seen them, but it looks like someone's put a prick stick on him and kicked him through Top Man. What I would say is, over the last probably 8 to 10 years, I've seen a real change in Ed. He's become more, I don't know, I think that committed word, that drive, gone are those sort of boyish capers that we used to have. So there was a time where we used to come up for the weekend, and you used to make a cracking chilli.
Yeah, I'd still do.
And he would take me to the Gifford in Wolverhampton. Has anyone been there? Only once, I'd imagine. It's the first time I've seen a man with fingernails that long wearing a leather kilt. But then again, I suppose it was the Gifford. Thankfully closed that. In revenge, I took Ed to one of the roughest pubs in Cardiff and made him sing Flying Without Wings by Weston. We escaped remarkably unscathed, physically, but mentally it runs deep. And it runs long. I suppose the other thing that I saw, and it was probably 3 or 4 years ago at an optical trade fair, no less, where I was talking about some such. And Rebecca and Ed came across the stand, and I could see that he was absolutely besotted. And I'm sure you can all see why. Not only is she a radiant beauty, but also she's got a depth, a personality, and a warmth and a kindness that's difficult to find. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, he is punching. And it goes without saying, for anyone in this room, that no matter what life deals you, no matter how hard it seems, there is hope. I think one of the other things I've noticed is just how much Rebecca has charmed me. Ed's previous girlfriend actually burned me with a metal object. She wasn't aiming for him, she was just a clumsy oaf. Whenever he would think of what, he's a very honourable man, he didn't date lots of women, but when he did, he thought, I'm not sure she'd pass the mum test. And the mum test is an important one, especially when you've got a mum like this who's an absolute inspiration, who will send food packages. And actually, Jill is one of the strongest, most forceful people I've ever met in terms of a force for good in his life. And not only have you gained a fantastic husband, you've gained a wonderful mum.
Oh, thank you.
It's all right. So I've got to do that bit so she'll forgive me for the next bit. Don't worry. Look, over the last few years, I've seen you together. You're absolutely fantastic. Wonderful day. Fantastic family moving into. Thank you very much, everyone, for the day. And thank you guys for being together. Ladies and gentlemen, bride and groom.
Thanks. Oh, bride.
I'll apologise in advance, but this is going to be mercifully brief, a lot less emotionally charged and well organised than everybody else's, so you'll be finished soon. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Ed Solomons. I'm the second best man of sorts to the wonderful Dr. Lyons, as you can see to the left. A great choice, I thought, in best man. I assumed she'd be joining us on the Miami leg of the stag do.
I wasn't even asked.
Well, it's a shame because we really need someone to do some of the ironing and washing for us because we did struggle. I'm sure you would have excelled, but sadly you were otherwise engaged. I haven't known Ed for that long. We met at his practice about 6 or 7 years ago. I'm sure the date's burnt into your memory. And we first started our wonderful friendship there. I remember it like it was yesterday. The candles, the fine wine, the sensual massage. It was the best and most expensive eye exam I've ever had. I suspect you will tonight. The following week, we was invited to my birthday party, and that was the start of a wonderful friendship, and the rest is history, isn't it? We showed you the highlights of Leicester and met a couple of well-known shooters vomiting in a toilet through doing too much drugs, and it all went downhill from there. Since then, we've shared many fantastic trips, the highlights of which can be discussed later on, which is going to be after this speech, because I've been under pains by largely the Bullock clan not to go into too much detail on anything too exciting. I'll go through a couple of the anecdotes. Largely speaking, I'll give you the highlight reel and you can ask for details later. One of Ed's aforementioned absolutely horrific shoes being stuffed with money, which seems to be his sort of equivalent of a wallet, which is great. Late night pushchair races through Dubai, which was the first of many, as we found out again in Miami, which ended up once more with me being mortally wounded and losing an enormous amount of cash at the shoot we were meant to be attending the next day. Lift punch roulette, which was another one we did in Dubai, wasn't it, where we would drunkenly wait outside the elevators, wait for them to ping and wind up a right-hander and throw it straight through the doors, irrespective of who was in there. And thankfully no one got it and we didn't get arrested. And then finally, also in Dubai, funnily enough, stealing a Chinese child's tortoise. That was, which was a new one. I think that's, strangely, that one hasn't raised its head again. We've also been pretty good at avoiding natural and man-made disasters. One of which was the upcoming typhoon or hurricane in Miami, which we missed by a day. The other one that we kind of didn't miss was a mass shooting in Vegas, which was a great start to the trip. But thankfully, we managed to escape, didn't we? On Vegas, that's one of our favourite trips to do together. We've had some lovely times there. I tend to only go with Ed, other than for his fantastic company. It's nice to see someone with less fiscal control and general self-awareness than myself, which is quite frankly staggering. It's something to behold, so I can recommend if ever you want to go to a casino, this is the man to make you feel good about yourself. Our last trip, as we mentioned previously, we narrowly escaped a mass shooting, which was a really nice, cheery setup for you. We then retired to our shared room, again backing up the homosexual cover story that Ed's furiously denying, but we all know where your allegiances lay. where Ed then proceeded to barricade our door with a footstool and some soft furnishings. Which, as we all know, if that's not going to stop a crazed gunman, what will? Personally, I think if he'd found our room in a 5,000 room hotel, the soft furnishings really aren't going to be the least of our problems. It's probably game over. But seriously, you know, Ed and Bex make an absolutely fantastic couple, I think you'll agree. Tall, dark, beautiful eyes, and a sparkling personality. Ed's quite a catch, and Becca's done very well for herself. I've explained to Bex this morning that this isn't so much a marriage, it's more of a long-term loan. You can have him for day-to-day duties, but I'm going to be having him for holidays, religious festivals, and our date nights. I'd like to thank them both for their fantastic day that they've put forward, the incredible hospitality, and I'll raise a toast to the new Mr. and Mrs. Lyons. Cheers.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you.